Today we're joined by none other than Hardcore Bob Holly. Thanks for being here today with us.
I appreciate you guys having me here.
My very first question to you would be, were you a wrestling fan growing up?
Oh, yes. Yes, I was. Very first time I ever saw wrestling was when I was 7 years old, I believe. And believe it or not, I watched Portland wrestling up in Oregon. And I was born in California, and then my folks moved up to Oregon. And then first time I ever saw wrestling was, when I was up there in Oregon. And but when I was in California, I used to watch roller derby, believe it or not.
T-Birds and all that?
Oh,
Miss
yeah.
Georgia Haas?
Yeah. And see, that, and it was the same basic concept, and I got into it. And, of course, my brother, he hated watching it. And then when we moved to Oregon, then I watched Portland wrestling, and then I watched big-time wrestling out of California.
Right.
And, Pat Patterson was there, Peter Mavia.
This is the 70s?
This was in the 70s.
Piper, Moondog Mayne, all those guys.
Piper, Moondog Mayne, Jimmy Snuka, Playboy Buddy Rose, Kurt Hennig, all them guys went through Portland.
Right.
Just about everybody that's been in WWE seemed to go through Portland. Even Tom Pritchard was there.
I guess as far as getting into the business, is something that you always knew you wanted to get into?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that's all I thought about. That's all I thought about was wrestling.
What did you do before you got into the wrestling business?
I worked in my first job, I was 15, 16. I worked in a golf course, picking the driving range and cleaning golf clubs. Then my second job was working in a beer warehouse. And then I found out that they had a wrestling school in Pensacola, Florida. So as soon as I graduated from high school, I went to Pensacola. I actually moved to Mobile.
Right.
And then just went back and forth every day to wrestling school in Pensacola. Rip Tyler and Bob Sweetan trained me.
Well, I was going to ask you, what was the training like?
Yeah.
Did you ever get discouraged in the beginning, or?
Hell no.
No, okay.
I never did. No. Because I knew what I wanted.
Right.
And I had people tell me all the time that I was never going to make it. And I'm like, well, you know what? I'm doing what I want to do. I want to wrestle, and if I make it, fine. If I don't, then, at least I got to wrestle.
What was the biggest misconception that you had about the business early on?
The biggest misconception? Well, of course, when you're young and don't know any better, you think it's, real. Of course.
Right.
But I mean, I don't know. I really didn't have any misconceptions about it. All I thought about was wanting to get in it and didn't care. And, I was shocked at how everything worked.
Right.
Of course, that was a culture shock for me, how everything worked. And, but I mean, that's the way it was. And I was willing to do whatever it took to, hang in there.
What was the hardest thing for you to pick up as far as the training goes? You think it was the psychology, or was it learning how to bump, or?
Nothing. I picked it up right off the bat.
Okay.
I mean, I did. I really did. And that's one of the things that they told me, that I was a natural at it,
Right.
And I've got my very, very first match on videotape. And that thing is under lock and key, and this whole world will never see that tape.
Who'd you work?
I worked, the guy's name was Bob. And you talk about terrible, as far as, the way the psychology of the business is now.
Right.
I mean, it's embarrassing for me to even watch. It was about a 30-minute match.
Wow.
And it was very boring,
Right.
And, of course, I'd only been training probably, a month or so. And then, they did, they started doing their own TVs and everything. It was called WOW, World Organization Wrestling. And that's, Rip Tyler owned it, and then a guy out of Japan, Mr. Ito.
Okay.
He was partners in it. And so that's how that all started. But first we just did like studio wrestling, and that's all we did, and so I've got my very first match on tape.
Wow.
My very first one, and nobody's ever seen it, and I won't let anybody see it. I don't think there's a price to be paid for that one.
Right. How soon did Bob Sweetan smarten you up to the business? Was it gradual, or is it right away? Or
well, it wasn't until I think my first match that I had, because I just got the shit kicked out of me basically,
right,
by him and some other folks, and he tortured me. I mean, he made me run and run and run. He'd ride his bicycle up and down the road while I ran next to him.
Wow.
And he tried to break me, and he couldn't break me. So
we're going to talk about Tough Enough coming up, but you were seen by some of the kids being hard on him. Is that due to the way you were brought up?
No, it wasn't due to the way I was brought up. To me, it was a respect for the business. All that was nothing but respect for the business. I felt like the business was being disrespected by the way they were carrying on and laughing and cutting up, and people know, when you're out in that ring, it's serious business.
Right.
You're there to entertain the fans. You're not out there to entertain yourself. And I don't know. Did you see it? Yeah,
definitely. I'm going to ask you a bunch of questions. I just wanted to. We'll bring that up later because I got a lot of stuff regarding that. I just didn't want to know if that was, the case.
No, it wasn't because of the way I was brought up. It was out of total respect for the business.
I understand. Okay. Now you were also involved in NASCAR. How did that come about?
I've always wanted to race all my life, and a friend of mine said, the girl I was dating at the time, she knew a guy that raced, and we went over there, and I was just, amazed at his race car, and told him that I've always wanted to race, and he said, well, we can build you one.
Right.
And so what I did was, he was an owner of a plumbing company, and so what I did is I'd work my regular job, plus I'd work for him on the side to get extra money, because what he would do is he'd help me build the car, and then he'd go get parts for it and stuff like that, and I would just pay him back, and then that's how I got started. And my very first race, I finished fourth in, and I was told that I wouldn't win a race for at least 2 years. Then the next weekend out, I won my first race.
Wow.
And then I started winning after that.
What led you to get into, the Smoky Mountain wrestling scene and leave NASCAR? Was it just scheduling conflict, or?
No. Because I liked wrestling, and racing was just a hobby.
Right.
And Jim Cornette called me and wanted me to come to work for him, so I did.
Were you familiar with Jimmy and his territory at the time?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. I knew Jimmy through WCW.
Right.
So, because every once in a while I would go up to WCW and, put guys over, back in the day. And,
right.
And Jim smartened me up and said, don't come up here and do it anymore.
He knew that you had something.
Yeah, he knew I had something special, and he said, don't do it no more. Don't come up here.
Right.
And so I quit coming, and, and then I got, went back home, started working again, and then he started Smoky Mountain Wrestling, and then he called me, and so I went to work for him for a little while. What
were your initial impressions of Jimmy?
I like him. I like him a lot.
Right.
So, he liked me, and me and him never had any problems with each other.
Did any of the vets test you early on or try to pull ribs on you in Smoky? Or? No?
No, nobody touched me.
Okay. Who did you ride with back then?
Just me.
Just you by yourself?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
Looking back at your Smoky Mountain Wrestling run, any favorite matches that stand out in that territory? Would you consider that also the territory that you learned the most early on in your career?
That actually, I think I went to work for Memphis before I went to Smoky Mountain.
Okay.
I worked for Memphis before I went to Smoky Mountain. and then for Jerry Jarrett, and then wasn't making no money. I got tired of sleeping in my car, sleeping in rest areas, you know.
Right.
And that just wasn't cutting it for me because I had to have money to get, you know, have gas to get from one town to the next. And I had gas money, but I wouldn't have been able to eat.
Right.
So I was starving, you know.
What are your memories of Jarrett as a promoter?
He just didn't pay anything.
Right.
You know.
Who was booking at the time? Was it Jerry or?
Jerry, and I want to say Randy Hale, but I'm not for sure.
Okay. Anything else that stand out regarding the Memphis territory at all, or just
struggled big time, you know. Had a tag team partner, Pat Rose. We were tag team partners up there for a little while, and you know, we just couldn't make it off the money they were paying,
right?
Because you traveled so much, you know, and the towns were so far away. You wrestled 6 nights a week, you know, and you got paid in Evansville, Indiana, every 2 weeks.
Right.
And it's like when you got your paycheck, you're like, okay, I'm supposed to live off of this for the next 2 weeks?
Right.
You know? So I went back home and got a job.
When you arrived in Smoky Mountain Wrestling, we talked a little bit about Jimmy earlier on. Who are some of the guys that you worked with that stood out?
Oh, gosh. Brian Lee.
Right.
Tim Horner. And who else? There's a bunch of them. What is his name? He used to Tracy Smothers.
Okay, yeah, Tracy's awesome.
Tracy, yeah, he's a great guy.
As far as the company itself, why do you think it didn't work?
Smoky Mountain?
Yeah, just the funding, or?
I think it had a lot to do with the funding. They had great talent.
Definitely.
You know, but I just think back then there was so much wrestling on TV, you know, because you had, you know, WCW, and then you had, you know, WWF at the time.
Right.
And there was just so much wrestling on TV, you know, why do you want to go pay to see it when you can sit at home and watch it for free?
It's true. I guess, do you consider Smoky Mountain Wrestling critical to your success?
I do. I think it is because that's one of the tapes that I sent to J.J. Dillon
right.
in Connecticut.
Did you do many indies at all before going to WWE? Or
yeah.
Okay. You just did all indie scene.
Drive up and down the road for $10, $15.
Right.
4 or 5 hour trips and make $10. Enough to, you know, $15 enough for gas to get home and, you know, get home and get up and go to work in the morning. Because I'm a welder by trade, you know, so that's what I did.
Right.
And then after I'd get off work, you know, and then I'd head up the road and go do a show somewhere, drive back home and go to work. And
How did you wind up in WWE? I know Jim Cornette was a huge supporter of yourself. I remember reading back in the day, he always considered you the next Ric Flair, and, you know, he always said you had, you know, so much talent. Yeah,
and he did, but I guess other people in WWE didn't see it that way. And I have an idea who, but I'm not going to mention no names.
Right.
But I think actually Paul Bear was the one that sent him my tape.
Right.
He gave him one of my tapes, and I taped you know, a few minutes of Smoky Mountain matches from Smoky Mountain sent up there, and then J.J. Dillon called me. I got off work one day, and there was a voicemail from J.J. Dillon on my answering machine, and they wanted to talk to me and set up a meeting, and I flew to Connecticut, and they hired me. I didn't even have to have a tryout.
Wow. What were your initial impressions of Vince?
I thought he was a great guy. I thought he was nice, you know. I didn't know him when I first met him, but I thought he was really nice.
Take us, I guess, through the day of your meeting. You went up there, they treated you first class and all that.
Oh, yeah.
Right.
Uh-huh. I walked in, sat down with Vince and JJ and just talked about it, and they handed me a contract and told me to take it home and look at it, you know.
Right.
And so I took it home, looked at it, signed it, and sent it back.
At the meeting, did they discuss any of the characters that they wanted you to do? I mean, was that talked about yet, or?
Yeah, they already had a character in mind because of my racing background. You know, the Sparky Plug deal.
Right.
You know, which, you know, I thought was kind of corny, but, you know, I was grateful to, you know, be hired by WWE because that's where everybody wanted to go.
Right.
You know, if you got in there, you're somewhere and you're somebody. So to me, it didn't matter what they called me.
You liked the gimmick as long as you were working.
Right. And then after a while, it's like, you know, this gimmick's kind of silly because it just does. I didn't feel comfortable out there playing that character. I mean, yeah, I raced cars, you know, for a shoot, but being that character, you know, I was not comfortable at all. And I went and talked to Vince about it after a few months, and he was really cool about it. He said, okay. He said, well, you know, change your name. And, you know, we dropped the Sparky.
Right.
And just started calling me Bob Sparkplug Holly. You know, and then that was fine. That worked for a while. And then when they did this other deal with Al Snow, the Job Squad, then they dropped the Sparkplug completely, and it was just Bob Holly.
Right. I'm going to ask you about that coming up.
Okay.
As far as your TV debut against Barry Horowitz, what are your memories of working Barry?
It was easy. He made me feel real comfortable. You know, I was nervous, of course.
Right.
But, I mean, he didn't take advantage of me or anything like that. You know, he made me look good.
Okay. How soon were you accepted into the locker room?
I think I was pretty well accepted right away because I was friends with Paul Bearer.
Right.
You know, and Undertaker. You know, not so much friends with Undertaker, but Paul Bearer managed Undertaker. You know, and me and Paul were good friends. So, of course, Undertaker was, you know, looking out for me too. And
right.
So, and I think everybody pretty much accepted me because I would come in, speak to everybody, and I would sit down and I mind my own business. I wouldn't, you know, be loud. I wouldn't talk. I wouldn't say nothing. I knew where my place was.
Right.
You know, so I just sat there, and then, you know, and then when I was spoken to, I spoke, and, you know, I knew what my role was.
Was Taker at the time pretty much the locker room leader?
Yes.
Okay. Good. Memories of the Clique around this period of time?
I hated them.
Why is that?
Just because of the way they acted. They run everything. You know, guys didn't have a chance with them around. You know, to this day, Scott Hall, I'd like to smack him right across his face. You know.
A lot of people, you know, talk about that on our interviews. Did they play a lot of politics with your career at all?
I have no idea. Right. That's the thing. You don't know what they did. You have no earthly idea what they did. You know. And, but I do remember Kevin coming up to me and saying, you know, that they had talked to Vince about me and about doing something with me and stuff like that. So, you know, but other than that, I think you just don't know because you don't know because Vince was like so tight with those guys, so you don't know what went on behind closed doors.
Right.
You know.
Right.
And that's the thing.
Was Shawn hard to deal with around this period of time? Shawn Michaels, was he hard to get along with?
Yeah. You didn't know he was messed up so bad he couldn't remember whether he didn't know whether he was coming or going.
Right.
You know. And it's funny because me and Shawn have talked about it, you know, here in the past, and he was like, he goes, I know you hated me. I said, I did, you know, but, you know, which was understandable. And he understands that because he was so strung out on, you know, this, that, and the other. But I mean, to me right now, Shawn is just an absolute wonderful guy. I mean, he's a good guy. I mean, he really is. I've talked to him on the phone and stuff like that, and he is a good man.
It was just the nature of the business around the period of time, I guess.
Yeah.
What was your take on the whole Bret-Shawn dynamic?
Well, to me, my opinion, Bret should have done business like everybody else does Brett wanted to leave as world champion and turn the belt over, which it's wrong. You pass the torch. You leave WWE, you drop the belt to somebody else. Then you leave and go somewhere else. Brett didn't want to do that. And so I completely understand why Vince did what he did. I don't blame him for doing it.
Right.
And Brett, to me, I mean, I don't have anything against Brett, but, you know, Brett got what he deserved. Because it's not, you just don't do that. I mean, look at all the guys that passed the torch to him. Yokozuna dropped the belt to him, you know.
Right.
He beat him. And he didn't have to do it, but he did it. So why can't Brett return the favor? You know, he's leaving. Drop the belt to Shawn. You know, that's just the way it is. That's the nature of the business. It is what it is, and that's what you're supposed to do. And so, you know, he didn't like it. That's too damn bad.
What are your thoughts on Brett as a person outside the ring?
I always got along with him. You know, he was kind of quiet. I mean, he was nice to me.
Right.
You know, I didn't have no problems with him. He was nice. He was really nice to me.
Memories of your very first Royal Rumble?
Nervous as hell.
Right.
It was fun. That was in Rhode Island.
All right.
You know, it was fun. It was really fun. I enjoyed it, of course. That was pretty much my debut.
Right.
So, you know.
I guess at what point were you confident in your abilities? When did you realize, all right, I got it?
When I became Hardcore Holly. Because like I said, when I was that race car driver character gimmick thing, I wasn't comfortable. So when Vince said I was going to be Hardcore Holly, that's when I felt comfortable. I felt like I changed in the ring. I felt like I belong in the ring. You know, I knew what I was doing. I felt comfortable out there. And, you know, and I felt like I was just as good as anybody when I'm out there.
How did your life change when you became a WWE superstar?
A lot more friends started coming around. You know,
right?
More people coming up to me and recognizing me and stuff like that. Which, you know, and of course, the fame and the money, but I wasn't in it for that. To be perfectly honest with you, I didn't expect none of that to happen. You know, that's not why I did it. I did it because I love wrestling.
Right.
You know, and when fans come up to me, I'm the type of person that thinks, you know, hey, I'm just like y'all. What do you want my autograph for? I ain't no different than anybody else. I'm just on TV and you're not.
Right.
You know, I'm nothing special, you know, but I guess they see it different.
Memories of your series with Bastion Booger?
He was easy to work with. It was fun.
Right.
You know, it was fun. I had a good time doing it.
Rick Martel?
He taught me a lot.
What did he teach you?
He taught me a lot of psychology. A lot. Rick Martel was good to me. You know, he took me under his wing and, you know, he would watch my matches, tell me what I did wrong, told me what I could do to make something better. You know, like if I put something in a certain place, he told me it would fit better here, or, you know, take it out. And, you know, he was just good for me all around because he really helped me out a lot.
What are your memories of the very first WrestleMania that you were involved in?
WrestleMania 10. We were supposed to have a match. I was supposed to be in a Battle Royal. I think that's what it was, a Battle Royal. And Shawn and Scott Hall took too long in their match.
That was a ladder match, right?
Ladder match. Right. And they kept telling them to go home. They wouldn't go home, and they went like 20 minutes over. it was like 15 or 20 minutes over. And then, so then everybody that's supposed to be in that Royal Rumble or that Battle Royal, and
kiboshed it.
Yep, they put a squash on it. So,
whose idea was it teaming you up with the kid?
Their idea.
Were you for that idea or were you for that idea or against it? No.
I was for it because kid was over,
right?
And all that was going to do is help me,
right.
So,
what are your thoughts of Sean?
I like him. I had no problems with him at all. He was always real nice to me.
Were you closer at all with the Clique at all now that you're teaming with Sean? At that point?
No different. They all treated me,
Right.
They seemed to like me, I think they did. I mean, I know they like me now.
Right.
But I can give two shits about Scott Hall.
Memories of your matches with the Smoking Guns?
Those were a blast. I liked working with them guys.
Right.
Especially Billy Gunn, because he was good. He was good, when he's on, and, he can make you look good, and I enjoyed working with both of them.
Memories of your series with Jeff Jarrett?
I liked working with Jeff. It was easy. Like I said, I knew him when I worked in Memphis, so we got along good, and we had good matches, and it was fun to work with him.
Memories of your very first series with Triple H?
Fun.
Right.
They were all fun. I mean, with him, because he's so easy to work with.
Right. Did you see? Sorry about that. Did you see the potential in Triple H when you were working with him early on?
You know what? To be honest with you, I never even thought about it. I mean, I knew he was good.
Right.
But I just never thought about the potential that he could have, I just, because the thing is, at that time, I was there having a good time. All I wanted to do was wrestle. I wasn't worried about, who's got potential to be number one and all this, and I wasn't trying to be number one. I just wanted to go out there and have a good time and wrestle people, and, me and Triple H had good matches.
Right.
Every night we had good matches.
Memories of when Shane Douglas came into the company?
Really didn't pay too much attention to that.
Right. Owen Hart? Any memories of Owen?
Oh, yeah. Owen was probably the most likable guy in the locker room.
That's what everybody says.
Yeah. Didn't have an enemy in the world. I mean, you can get mad at him, but you're not going to stay mad at him.
Any ribs pulled on you by Owen?
No, he never pulled any ribs on me.
Have you seen him actually in action as far as pulling ribs on guys? Or?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Any standout?
Just the one where they picked up a hitchhiker, and they brought him to a show, and it was in the middle of the summertime, and they had him sitting in the back seat with his backpack on his lap. They had 5 guys in the car, had the windows rolled up. I guess Hakushi at the time was with us. And, of course, he didn't speak English. So Owen told that hitchhiker, said it's a religion that whenever he rides in a car, has to have the windows rolled up and the heater turned on. And, it's 95 degrees outside, and they're driving down the road with the windows rolled up and the heater on. This poor guy, he's got a backpack on him, and he's just dying.
That's great.
Sweating to death. And they brought him to the arena, and brought him in the back and met everybody and said that they would give him a ride down the road, and they left at the arena.
That's awesome.
So, yeah, it was pretty funny.
Memories of your first series with Ringmaster Steve Austin?
One thing that stands out, he called a slap spot. He slapped me, told me to slap him back, And he told me, he said, I will never, ever have you slap me ever again. He said, I about knocked him out when I slapped him.
Right. So. Did you see the potential in Steve early on, right away, or?
Never even thought about it, to be honest with you. I just, I was just there. I was just enjoying myself, You
were there when ECW came in for some of the invasion angles, right?
Yeah.
What did you think about all that?
I thought it was pretty cool. It added interest to the show.
Right. Did you follow the other companies that were going around, like WCW at the time, or were you in the bubble, I guess, for WWE?
No, I followed the other companies, trying to see what they were doing and stuff like that.
What were your thoughts on ECW?
Just there's a lot of hardcore, crazy stuff.
Right.
And people got into it.
I guess how did Vince change over time? You were there during the Monday Night Wars with Nitro, and they were beating them in the ratings. Mm-hmm. Did you see Vince change personality-wise? Get humbled a little bit, or was he the same old Vince?
I think when those wars started, it drove him. It drove him to, want to beat these guys. And he was, to me, Vince was easy to get along with.
Was he approachable?
Oh, absolutely. Hell yeah. Yeah. Right. I could knock on his door anytime and go in there and talk to him.
Right.
If he wasn't busy or whatever. Sometimes I'd knock on his door and walk in and just take some of his food and turn around and walk out while he's sitting in there.
Right.
And he'd just look at me. And people couldn't believe I did that. I'm like, what's he going to do, fire me?
Right. Whose idea was it for the Midnight Express? Was that The Office?
I think it was Jim Cornette's.
Did you like it?
Yeah, because it gave me a job.
Right. Was it hard following in their footsteps?
I didn't try to follow in their footsteps because I didn't want to try to be like them, because there's only one Midnight Express.
Right.
And they'll never, ever be duplicated. Never. So...
Did you ever talk to Stan, Bobby, or Dennis about it at the time period, or was it pretty much The Office gave you that spot and that's what you went with?
Yeah, The Office gave us that spot, and Cornette was with us, but there's no way we could live up to what they did.
Right.
They're the best. They, to me, they were one of the best tag teams out there.
100%.
Yeah.
Memories of your matches with the Rock and Roll Express?
Fun. Had a good time. They made you look like $1 million. Because
sold their ass off.
They did. They made you look like you were killing them. And they just, they made you look like a strong team to where, if the fans wanted to see you get your ass kicked, so they also helped get us over.
Right.
By doing the things they did for us.
Memories of your matches with the Outlaws?
The Outlaws. You're talking about like Billy and Road Dogg?
Yeah.
Oh. Fun.
Easy.
All guys like that, especially like with Billy Gunn, because me and Billy are really tight.
Right.
We're like best friends. So, and it made me look forward to it, because Road Dogg would sell, Billy'd come in and make the comeback or whatever, and to me it was fun. I looked forward to it because you knew when you were out there you didn't have nothing to worry about, because you knew everything was going to go good and you were going to have a good match with those guys.
Right.
So.
What are your thoughts on Bart Gunn?
Love him to death.
You think he got a raw deal?
Do I think he did?
Yeah, from the company. Do you think he got a raw deal in WWF?
I think so.
Right.
Yeah, because when he knocked out Steve Williams, they had it in for him after that.
I was going to ask you that. That was one of my next questions.
Yeah, they had it in for him. JR had it in for him after that, and that's why they put him with Butterbean, because they knew Butterbean would knock him out.
Right.
And Bart was stupid to take that fight because, just because he beat the boys in that Brawl for All, Butterbean's a professional fighter. You don't fight somebody at their own game.
Right.
And Butterbean knew what he was doing. Bart dropped that hand and he caught him, and that was it.
What are your memories of the Brawl for All? Did you think it was good for business? I mean, here you guys were, going.
Well, at the time, business was like teetering. So Vince wanted to add a little spice to it, to add interest to it.
Right.
So he did that, And my fondest memory is Bart knocking everybody out but me.
I was going to ask you. He said you guys had a gentleman's agreement not to punch. Is that true?
Not to punch?
Yeah, not to punch him.
Shit, are you fucking kidding me?
That's what he said in one of our interviews.
No.
Okay.
He's wrong about that. My fucking eye was black for 7 straight days.
Wow.
He tried to knock me out.
How did you train for that?
Didn't.
You just went in there and
fought, yeah.
How did the office come to you guys?
The agreement that we had, you had to have gotten it wrong because agreement we had, because in that Brawl for All, you could take somebody down and score points.
Right.
The agreement we had, we'd stand there and fight. We agreed not to shoot in and take each other down because the people wanted to see you stand there and fight. So that's what we did. We stood there and fought.
Right.
It was, that was the agreement. It wasn't the agreement that we weren't going to punch each other.
You probably got it backwards.
Yeah, you had it backwards because, if we didn't throw any punches, then, yeah.
How did the office approach you as far as doing that? Your tournament.
Bruce Pritchard called me and asked me if I wanted to get in it.
Right. Was there any incentives at all, or?
Oh yeah.
What were the incentives?
You got paid pretty good for just getting in it, and then every time you won a fight, you got more money every time you won.
Did you feel that WWE was trying to get involved with MMA at that point in time, or was it just something for their TV ratings?
It was just something for TV ratings because MMA didn't exist back then.
Right. Memories of the Job Squad. And did you like it, or did you think it was goofy?
No, I liked it because that's how I got started as Hardcore Holly.
Right.
That led into that. I enjoyed it because I was with Al.
Right.
Al was a funny bastard. And, Al always had a really good relationship, and I liked it. And like I said, it kept me on TV. So...
Al told a story about, himself and Mick Foley. They made you very angry on a road trip. What do you remember about that story?
Yeah, because they were playing Christmas music in the middle of the summertime.
Right.
And I'm like, it's not Christmas. And, I think it was like, when was it? It was October. It wasn't even Halloween yet. And they started playing Christmas music.
Right.
And I'm sitting in the back seat, and I'm like, what the fuck are you guys doing? And Mick is like, I like Christmas music. I'm like, it's not even Christmas yet.
Right.
And I said, take that shit out of there. And so they took it out and said, what do you want to listen to? And I said, I don't know, anything but that. So then they put in Elvis. And I popped when he put in Elvis. I was like, that's,
Right.
And then I kind of started singing along with Elvis. So that's how that story went.
What are your feelings on Mick outside the ring? Good guy?
Good guy, really good guy, yeah. He is one guy that I've always wanted to have a hardcore match with and never have.
Wow.
We've had other matches when he was Mankind.
Right.
When they first brought him in as that. But I've always wanted to have a hardcore match with him because I know me and him could have had probably one of the best, if not the best, hardcore matches you'd ever seen.
By far.
So because I was willing to sacrifice my body and do anything.
Huh.
I would, if we were both up on top of that cage, I'd have thrown myself off the top of the cage too.
Right.
So
Al said he was his own biggest enemy in WWE. Do you agree?
I don't think so.
You just think it was Office, or?
Yeah, just Office, and Al was over too.
Definitely.
That's the thing. It was somebody in the office that didn't want him in a top spot.
Right.
I mean, Al was good too, and he was over. Every time he come out, he got a great reaction.
Definitely.
And I didn't understand it.
What are your thoughts of Blue Meanie? You got to work with him a little bit.
I liked him, but he was just lazy.
Why is that? Just as far as
because he was way overweight and he really couldn't do anything, and like you'd be in the middle of doing something and then he'd just blow up, and it's like, because once you blow up out there, your mind starts. You can't think. All you can think about is, oh my God, I can't breathe and stuff like that. I mean, I like the guy, but he was just way out of shape. I mean, he was a novelty to the fans.
You think he was just a comedy act, you mean? Or
I think so, yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Which I think he enjoyed. I really do. But it got him on TV. I mean, guys did what they had to do to get on TV.
What are your thoughts on what happened between him and JBL?
I'm trying to think of what happened.
It was the One Night Stand pay-per-view where they were in the Battle Royal and JBL kind of stiffed him a little bit.
That was between them.
Right.
I don't, honestly, I don't know what happened between them. I knew there was something going on, but that was at that
Hammerstein Ballroom.
Yeah, the night WWE invaded their deal, right?
Yeah. Basically, it was the ECW pay-per-view.
Yeah. I wasn't there, so I don't know. I don't know what was said. And, there's two sides to every story, and the truth lies in the middle somewhere. So I just, whatever.
Right. Did you like doing the hardcore matches?
I loved it.
Right.
Oh, I loved it.
How did that whole gimmick come about for you?
Honestly, I couldn't tell you.
It just happened, and
it just happened. It just happened.
What are some of the matches that stand out as far as working that style?
The one with me and Bart, when he came back, and then there was the one between me and Al where we went in the Mississippi River. I think that stands out more than anything, and I really enjoyed that.
Right.
Al makes me laugh. I'm sorry, but he tickles me to death. He's just funny. But I think that one stands out more than anything to me.
Did you guys plan that spot with the river, or is that pretty much just the way it went?
They asked us if we'd go in the river.
Right.
And why not? Nobody else. It added to the match, so why not?
As far as the hardcore matches go, as far as themselves, did you plan a lot of the spots, or you just went out there and called it all in the ring, or?
We laid a lot of stuff around, and if we used it, fine. If not, we just pretty much ad-libbed everything.
Right.
But I mean, we had stuff out there, but we just ad-libbed everything pretty much.
Did the office pretty much give you guys the freedom to do what you want, or did they have somebody with you and going over everything?
They had somebody go with us going over everything, but we could, it was pretty much up to us. But of course, if they had somebody there, well, no, that's not a good idea, or you shouldn't do that, or we can't do that, or just one of them kind of things.
What are your memories of the tragic night at Over the Edge with Owen Hart when he passed away?
I was the match following his. And I was standing there. It was in Kansas City. I was warming up. And all of a sudden, I heard Bruce Pritchard get up and say, "Oh, my God, Owen fell." And I'm sitting there thinking, Owen fell? Fell off the stage? And then I got to thinking, wait, we don't have a stage here. And then I remembered that day he was practicing coming out of the ceiling. And then I was like, shit. And I didn't know anything, and all I know is people were rushing to the ring, and Bruce and everybody was freaking out and Gorilla. And then after probably about 20 minutes, if that, I'm standing there and I see him wheel Owen through, and he's, just white, and his arms were hanging off. And I remember and they were pushing on him and everything, and that's what I remember about that.
Did you think the show should have been stopped after that, or do you think it was right to continue the show?
that's a tough call. You know?
Right.
I mean, I don't know. I have mixed emotions about it, but I couldn't answer that question.
How hard was it for you to go out there and continue wrestling? I mean, with your state of mind.
It wasn't easy because I was right after his match.
Wow. Who did you work? I forgot.
Can't remember. Honestly, I can't remember.
Maybe took Sarah?
It might have been because I think Deborah was involved, right?
No, it wasn't Jeff. No, it wasn't Jeff. But God, I can't remember who it was. But it felt weird because the crowd was just silent.
Right.
You know, and it was an eerie feeling.
When did you realize that Steve Austin was turning business around for the company?
When the crowd's starting to get bigger and my paycheck started getting bigger.
Right. Did Steve change over time?
Did Steve change over
personality-wise? Did he develop an ego or?
Yeah.
Right.
He did. I ain't afraid to say it. He did.
How did he change as far as like what?
Just all of a sudden he knows everything. You know, it's like he's got money, he's got power. Now he knows everything. You can't tell him nothing.
At one time, was he always part like one of the boys, or
and
then he just kind of separated himself?
Yeah, because he used to ride around me and Billy Gunn, and then as soon as he started getting that push to the moon, then all of a sudden me and Billy didn't exist. You know, I mean, he'd talk to us, but you know, you can tell there was something different about him.
Right.
You know. So,
who did you travel with besides Billy?
Steve Blackman.
Right.
Ken Shamrock, and me and Al and Mick rode together a few times. Rode by myself quite a bit. Let's see, who else? Sid Vicious, rode with him. Probably for about 2-3 years. Rode with him.
Any good road stories with Sid?
Not really. We just
quiet.
We never went out and drank. We always got up early and worked out.
How would you find the gyms in the towns? You pretty much knew where all the spots were.
Just knew where they were.
Right.
Yeah.
How did you deal with fame as far as being on the road with the fans?
How did I deal with it?
You know, in the airports and restaurants. I mean,
I just felt like I wasn't shit. I felt like I was nobody. You know, so it's like, you know, I'm sitting there thinking, you know, why the hell you want my autograph? I don't feel like I'm anybody.
Right.
I mean, honestly, that's the way I felt. You know, it didn't feel right to me because, you know, even though I was somebody in somebody else's eyes, I felt like, you know, my autograph don't mean shit. You don't want my autograph. I mean, I'd still sign their autograph.
Right.
But I'm sitting there thinking, okay, here you go.
Huh.
I'm nobody.
How hard was the travel schedule for you?
It didn't bother me. I mean, I was tired.
Right.
But, I mean, it didn't bother me. The only time it bothered me is, like, when you were hurt.
Right.
You know, and you just had to keep going.
Were you married at the time, or are you married, or?
I'm not married now.
Okay. Were you married when you were in WWE?
Yeah, twice.
Hard on your relationship, or?
Very hard. That's why I was divorced.
Right. She wanted you to be home more often, I guess?
Yes.
Okay. How did you get teamed with Crash? How did that wind up happening?
Showed up in Milwaukee, and they said, you got a cousin? I'm like, oh, okay. Gee, thanks for calling me and letting me know.
Right.
But, I mean, it worked out.
I was going to ask you, did you like him and all?
Yeah, I did. I ended up liking him, and, I mean, it worked out really well. You know, and it was getting over.
Super.
It got over, and they pulled the plug on it.
Why is that? Because it was getting too over, you think, or?
Somebody. I just think, like you said, it was getting over, and somebody didn't like that because
taking their spot or whatever.
Right. It was getting taken away from somebody else.
Do you have any ideas who it could be, or?
I have no idea.
Memories of the team as a whole. I mean, as far as like teaming with them, obviously you like teaming with them. Did you like the whole fighting cousins gimmick?
Yeah. Yeah. I thought it was pretty neat. I mean, because the fans, they loved it.
Right.
It was entertaining, you know? They loved it. And the promos we did were funny. Everything we did was funny.
It was a good gimmick.
Yeah. I mean, the whole super heavyweight thing was a blast, you know? And then we showed up one day, and then all of a sudden, we're not doing it no more.
Wow.
It's like...
Did they give you an explanation? Or
Nope. Crash went his way, and I went mine.
Did it bother you losing a match to China? You got to work with her.
No, it didn't bother me.
Some guys were, pretty much against that.
Because I know because the thing is, in my mind, it's a work, it's entertainment, and if I was to go out there, I'd be world champion right now if I wanted to be. And ain't nobody could take that away from me. If I wanted to be world champion, that's like if I wanted to beat China for that Intercontinental title, that bitch couldn't stand a chance.
Right.
She wouldn't last 15 seconds with me. You know.
Was she easy to work with, obviously, or?
No. She wasn't.
Why is that? Just
Well, she complained a lot, and a lot of things that she wanted her way, and it was like, all right, this is a give and take deal here.
Right.
You know, and she would complain if you hit her too hard, but that bitch can hit you as hard as she wanted to. You know, and don't you dare say nothing about it. You know,
was she with Triple H at the time?
Yeah.
Was that something that kind of like made you worry? Because you didn't have power at the time anyway, so no, never mind.
I never had power.
Right. No, I'm saying he didn't have power at that position.
He did. He did in a sense.
Right.
Because he was DX.
Right.
You know, so, and DX was making Vince a lot of money, of course, so, you know.
Right.
And, but I mean, China she was okay to me. You know, she almost caused Chris Jericho to get fired.
How did that happen?
Just complaining about him because, you know, just saying lies on him and saying that he hits her too hard and all this. And, I mean, he got in a lot of trouble. Wow. She almost got him fired. And I thought that was bullshit.
Right. How did you wind up injuring your shoulder?
Never hurt my shoulder.
I thought you were injured for a little bit and sitting out.
Not my shoulder.
What was your first injury that made you sit out?
My broken arm.
How did that happen?
Kurt did a moonsault off the top rope, and I was out too far, and his shin hit me on top of my forearm and snapped it.
Wow. How long were you out for?
8 months.
Were you worried about your spot at the time?
No, because they would call me periodically and check on me and say, you know, you're going to come right back in, slide right back in that spot you were in. I'm like, cool, no problem. Got back in shape, came back to work, and just put me in a match with Kurt. Kurt beat me 1, 2, 3, and then after that, I was sitting in the back doing this. Okay, where do I go from here?
What was it like to work with Kurt Angle?
Loved it. He's a machine. Machine. I mean, you better be ready to go when you get in there with him.
All right.
You better be ready. So.
Outside the ring, what was he like?
Great.
Good guy?
Yes.
What are your thoughts on his whole struggle with pain pills and all that?
His?
Yeah. I mean, did you see it as far as, you know, being in a locker room with him and all?
Not really. I didn't, you know, people would say stuff, but, you know, I minded my own business.
Right.
I pretty much tended to my own business, didn't give a shit what other people did. That was their thing. You know, if they did that, that's their business.
Okay. Memories of working with Randy Orton?
Fun. He was easy to work with. They wanted me to beat the shit out of him. First few times I worked with him to see how his attitude was. And he was fine, never complained.
Right. When they tell you something like that, because I know when new guys would come to the company, they pretty much put them with you and, you know, you'd eat them up or whatever. Did any of the guys ever complain to the office after being in the ring with you that you were too stiff or anything?
Mm-mm.
When the office comes to you and says stuff like that, how do you interpret that? What do you do as far as...
I just know what to do.
What do you do in that case? If you're getting in the ring with a new guy that's coming into the company, what are you looking to do in the ring with them?
Just see what they can take. Just, you know, I'm not going to go out there and physically hurt them to where they're hurt.
I was going to ask
out. You. No, I've never hurt anybody and put them out. I've never done that.
Do you have limitations? I mean, at what point
Yeah,
right.
I mean, I know how rough to be with somebody, and and if they could take it, because the office was watching. They were watching the monitor.
Right.
They could see how rough I was, and then, they would check their attitude after it was over.
Was there anybody in the ring that you thought that, you weren't rough with, and then they were, I guess, a pussy or what have you? No, everybody pretty much.
Yeah.
Okay.
I was rough with everybody. Didn't matter who it was.
Right. Memories of The Rock.
Great guy. Loved him to death. I really like him a lot.
Did you get to work with him at all? Or
yeah.
Easy to work with?
Easy. Super easy.
What are your thoughts on him leaving the business and going off to Hollywood?
The way I look at it, if you can better yourself and find something, that's easier on your body and that you enjoy and you can make more money at, why not?
Right.
I mean, that's what life's all about, isn't it?
100%. At this period of time, what was the politics like in the locker room? Was there guys chasing for the top spot like Steve Austin? You had The Rock.
I pretty much didn't worry about the politics too much. I mean, I never complained to anybody about anything. If I complained to anybody, I went home and complained to my friends or my wife at the time, or I had a girlfriend and I'd complain to her. But as far as the politics, I didn't get involved in it. I didn't kiss anybody's ass, and I did my job, and that was it.
Did you trust anybody in the locker room?
Didn't trust a fucking soul.
You knew the business pretty much.
Yep. Don't trust nobody. I don't give a shit who they are.
Right. Okay. How did you find out that Vince had bought WCW? You hear all kinds of rumors and stuff like that. Of course, you don't know what's true. And then when I saw Shane down there, that's how I knew. Right. Did you think it was going to be good for the business, or did you think now that Vince bought, his number one?
I didn't think it was going to be good for the business because competition's good. Vince's whole plan was to shut that down, so he'd be the only game in town.
Right.
And see that's and see thing is when the WWE and the Nitro War started, money was good. That's when people were tuning in. They was wanting to see what's going on both shows, who's doing what, and who's outdoing who, and of course Nitro talked about WWE all the time on their show. Of course, we never put them over at all, but and the business was booming because of that. It's competition. Competition's good,
right?
And it's good for the boys because when Monday Nitro took off, that's when they started giving out these big money contracts to keep the guys with WWE
from jumping.
Yeah, and everybody was happy. I mean, there was not one person in that locker room that was unhappy. It didn't matter if you were doing jobs every night, it didn't matter what you were doing. You were making money. If you were opening match, you were making a shitload of money. And it didn't matter. It didn't matter if you were in a program or not.
Right.
In a storyline. You were making money. It just didn't matter. And then when Vince bought WCW, in my opinion, everything went downhill from there.
Well, he didn't have any worries anymore, I guess.
There was no competition.
Right. Were the boys in the locker room concerned about their spots now that, he bought WCW and there's going to be new talent coming into the mix?
I don't know.
Were you personally ever nervous at all or no? You knew your spot was secure?
I wasn't worried at all.
Did you ever negotiate at all with WCW or
Yeah, I did.
What happened with that?
They made me an offer and we were in Cleveland and JR told me that he wanted to talk to me about my contract, and this was at the pay-per-view in Cleveland. And he said, "I'm going to talk to you tomorrow night about your contract." Or no, I'm sorry, I take that back. He said, "Next week we're going to sit down and talk about your contract." And I said, "Okay." He said, "So think about what you want, and we'll go from there." So I thought about it and gave him a number, and I wrote it down. I said, this is what I want. Looked at it. Like, well, that's not quite what I had in mind, but okay, we'll do it. So, and I didn't have to go anywhere.
Right. JR easy to work with, or some guys say he is, and some people say otherwise.
He was with me. He was easy to work with.
Right.
I had a good relationship with him.
When guys came over from WCW into the company, was there a test period for guys at all?
Honestly, I really don't know.
Right.
I want to say there was, to check their attitudes, and see how they handled doing jobs to other people. And but I think Vince hadn't already had in his mind certain ones he was going to let go because of the way they walked out on him. And
right.
He was going to do it on national television, and he did.
What happened the night that everyone stumped Buff Bagwell?
Buff. Thing is with Buff, he didn't show, like, you're supposed to be at the house shows an hour before the show.
Right.
He showed up right when the show was starting. He wouldn't dress in the locker room with the guys. He wouldn't speak to the guys. He was off in his own little world or whatever. And and that's the problem they had with him. Nobody liked him.
Right.
So then Vince wanted to, or JR, we were doing something in the ring, and JR wanted me, Bradshaw, and Ron Simmons to take care of him. And, we did what we were told to do.
Behind the scenes or in the ring?
In the ring.
Right.
And then they fired him.
Wow.
They fired him the following week.
Did you guys think you were too hard on him, or was it just nature of the business?
It's the way it is.
All right. Okay. How different was Shawn Michaels when he came back into the WWE from the Shawn that you worked with years ago?
Completely different. Completely different. He was a lot nicer. He wasn't taking anything anymore. He started going to church. He got saved. And he just became a better person.
Right.
I can't say enough about Shawn. He's a really, really super guy. But back then, I hated his guts. And he knew it, too, because, we kid around about it. We'll be talking, and, in the locker room, a bunch of guys will be talking, and, it'll come up that I hated his guts and I wanted to kill him.
Huh. What stopped you from killing him? Just your job, pretty much?
Yeah, because he was,
Power position.
Power, yeah.
Memories of Brock Lesnar when he came into the company?
Just that he was a big bastard, and, he had that look. He had a good look. I thought he had a good look,
Right.
He wasn't that good of a worker.
Did he respect the business?
I think he did. I think he did. But he didn't like the travel. He thought it was a dirty way of life.
Right.
And that's why he got out.
There's a lot of stories I'm going to ask you point blank. I guess the one time you guys worked together, did you purposely sandbag him on a power bomb? That's like one of the biggest things that are out there.
That's all internet bullshit.
Okay.
You can't believe what the internet says.
That's why I'm asking you.
No.
Okay.
No. He, as strong as he is, if I tried to sandbag him,
He'd get you up.
He could pick me up anyway, so it doesn't fucking matter. That whole internet stuff, anybody can get on there and put whatever they want. Nobody knows. It's just people with their opinions, putting shit on the internet, whatever they want to put on there. They don't know. They're not out there.
Exactly.
Brock had the flu that night. We'd been out there for a while. He was tired. He went to pick me up. And I tried to sit up. I couldn't sit up. And, if I was going to sandbag him, it's dangerous for me to sandbag him, number one. And number two, anybody that can belly-to-belly Big Show and throw him at will. Here I weigh 130 pounds. I ain't shit to Brock. He can pick me up and sling me halfway across the arena. So for those people that think I sandbag him, they can go blow me for all I care.
What do you think when Hogan, Hall, and Nash came into the company? You think it was going to be good for the business, or did you think the locker room was going to be a political scene once again?
Be perfectly honest with you, I didn't think nothing of it.
Right.
All I thought is, why is that piece of shit Scott Hall's coming back?
What was your major problem with Scott? Just the way he treated you?
Just the way he treated people, the way he talked to people. He thought he was king shit and just thought, he can talk to anybody the way he wanted to, rude to people, and, and just, he'd talk, like buddy to your face, and as soon as you turn around, he'd like, oh, that fucking prick, get out of here, you fucking cocksucker, and all that. I don't mean to cuss on this.
That's
thing.
Okay.
But, that's the way he was. I have no use for him.
Did any of the boys ever go up to him and confront him on his mentality, or you didn't want to? Or
no, I don't think anybody did.
Was it tense in the locker room when those guys came back to the company, or
I don't know.
Okay.
I didn't let shit bother me.
Right. How did Hogan interact with the locker room when he came in?
He was nice. He was nice to everybody. Shook everybody's hand.
Mm-hmm. How did Hunter change as time went on with success?
Had a lot more power.
Right.
A lot of people think he's in Vince's ear. So, and a lot of people think he calls most of the shots.
Right. You want to get that?
Yeah.
Cool.
Hold on a second. Oh.
Okay. We were talking about Triple H and if he felt that he had changed with success.
He just, Hunter's a nice guy. Hunter's a real nice guy. But I just think he's in Vince's ear, and to me, if I was in his position and I saw guys with talent that were over, I would make sure they would get used. And I don't think he really did that. That's my opinion. Take it for what it's worth.
Was it an odd time, I guess, when he was dating both Stephanie and Chyna? And did the locker room know about it?
Well, honestly, I never knew he was dating both of them. The only thing that I saw was that I knew Stephanie liked him.
Right.
So that's all I knew. I didn't, like I said, I stayed out of everybody's business. I kept to myself, and I didn't worry about who was doing what or
right.
whatever. I knew I had a job to do. I knew what I had to do, and that was it. I could care less about,
He said, she said bullshit.
Yeah.
Right. What did you think when Beyond the Mat cameras came into the locker room?
I think I was out when they came in.
Okay.
Because that's when I broke my neck.
How did that happen?
On that power bomb. And, when Brock tried to hold me and it just cracked a vertebrae in my neck and shattered a disc.
Did you think that was the end of your career at that point in time, or?
Nah.
Dr. James Andrews, or?
Yeah, Dr. Andrews. No, Youngblood. I'm sorry.
Okay.
Dr. Youngblood in San Antonio.
How long were you out for?
13 months.
Wow.
So,
how did the whole Tough Enough concept get developed?
I don't know. I know they did the first one, and then when they did the first one, I asked Big if because he was in charge. Him and Kevin Dunn were in charge of it,
right?
And I told them, I said I want to do the next one, and JR wanted me to do it too. And JR came up to me and said, he asked me, he goes, "You sure you want to do it?" He said, "We'd really like you to do it because, Taz, he kind of bullied people around." And he said if somebody called him out, he'd get his ass whipped. He said, "We know with you, if somebody called you out, we ain't got to worry about you.
Right.
You'd take care of it." And so I said, "Yeah, I'll do it." And that was one of the best things I've ever done. I loved it.
Did you think the show exposed the business at all, or at that point the business was pretty much already open?
It was pretty much already open.
Right. I heard rumors, I don't know how true it is, that Triple H wasn't really for the taping of the show.
He wasn't.
Right.
He wasn't. He didn't like it.
What happened with you and Matt Copatelli? Obviously, that's a sore subject, but
not sore with me. To me, they disrespected the business because you got guys that work hard to make the business what it is today, and it was in Tough Enough 3, and I was a guest on number 3. Well, I got there, and they had everybody in the ring, and they're supposed to have a match. You know, it's like tag in, do your thing, tag out, somebody else comes in, one of them things. Well, they're all laughing, cutting up, you know, like slamming people, and the guy taking the slams laughing, and, you know, and getting punched, and they're laughing while they're getting punched, and I'm sitting there like, this is not the way it's supposed to be. And they're filming this for TV.
Right.
You know, and I'm sitting there, my blood was boiling. And so I went up to Big. I said, Big, I said, I need to get in there. You know, and Matt was the one laughing and carrying on more than anybody. And so then they stopped and said they switched out people, and I got in there and I showed him that's not the way it is.
Right.
You know, and I made a believer out of him, and, you know, he couldn't take a simple ass whipping. All I did was, you know, give him a bloody nose, bust his mouth open, and that was it, and blacked his eye. You know, and then he the next day he was crying on the show, wanting to quit. Well, if he can't take that, he doesn't need to be in the business, because that, you know,
right.
I was easy on him. I could have been a lot worse. You know.
Did you get heated off from the office for doing that with
Nope,
Matt?
Sure didn't.
They were all for it?
Yep, they were all for it.
What about as far as talent? We did an interview with Alan. At one point, he thought it was wrong that you shouldn't have taken liberties with Matt. Do you regret it at all, looking back at it? Or
No, I don't regret it.
Okay.
I'd do it again. And me and Al got on the phone, went round and round about it. And I told Al, I said, I'll damn sure do it again. I said, I'm protecting the business. I said, all you are to these guys, you're nothing but a mother. I said, that's all you are to them. And, you know, I mean, me and Al are good friends.
Did you guys agree to disagree, I guess?
We agreed. Yeah, we're good friends. And to this day, we're still good friends. You know, and we had a heated argument. But you know what? After that argument was over and I saw him at TV the next time, I mean, everything was fine. You know, but I had my opinion on it. He had his. And I told him, I said, you baby these guys too much. It's not the way it is. And I said, I went in there and I showed him the way it was. And that's too fucking bad if you don't like it.
Right.
You know, and I said, I'll do it again if I have to. And ain't nobody going to stop me. And so, you know, of course, Al disagreed and everything. But that's just the way it was.
Did any of the other boys ever come up to you and ask you about that situation, or nobody really cared?
Johnny Nitro at the time, who is now John Morrison, you know, at first he didn't understand. He didn't like it. But then after he started working and he'd been on TV for a while.
He understands.
He came up to me and he said, now I know why you did what you did. He said, I understand it. He said, I get it. And I said, thank you.
What are your thoughts on Johnny? Because he's really come into his own recently.
I like him. I think he's a hell of a worker. You know, he gets it. He's in great shape, too.
I know Triple H went on a TSN, and I guess he said your actions were inexcusable. Did you know about that at all?
About what?
About the whole incident with Matt.
Well, because Triple H he doesn't like violence. That's why.
Right.
That's all it is.
Okay. Moving on.
Not so much he doesn't like violence. You know, it's just like if you asked him about UFC, he doesn't like it. Right. But you know what? I was protecting the business, and if Triple H don't get that, well, then he can kiss my fucking ass. I guess
did Vince change once WWE was back on top and WCW was bought? Did he calm down a little bit? Now that he was
I don't know. I didn't.
Right.
Vince was always Vince to me. You know, Vince was always nice to me.
Memories of all your matches with RVD.
great. I loved him. Me and Rob I loved him. Some of the best matches I had were with Rob, especially the Extreme Rules match we had on TV when I got my back cut.
Right.
I think that was our best match we ever had. I love working with Rob.
Is it true that you got to work out with Vince a lot? You got really close with Vince?
I never worked out with him.
Okay.
I don't know where you got that from. Internet, maybe?
Maybe.
Internet's full of shit.
Exactly.
The thing is with the internet, anybody can go on there and say whatever they want to say, and it's like, where do these people get this information from?
Right.
I can go on there and make stuff up about you guys.
It's been done before.
It's like, right.
Right. What is the biggest misconception about Vince?
People think he's an asshole just because of TV, but he's not.
Right.
I mean, Vince has always been good to me. He always has. You know, and I'll go to bat for Vince any day of the week because he's always taking good care of me.
Thoughts on The Undertaker as a person?
Great.
Good guy?
Good guy. You couldn't ask for a nicer guy.
Is it hard to, I guess, get him to like you? From what I understand, you know...
You have to earn his respect.
He's got a little circle, I guess.
Yep. You have to earn his respect.
Did you like wrestling on the ECW roster?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Did you see it as a step down or...
No.
Okay. As long as you're getting paid.
You're on TV. That's all that matters.
Did Crash's death hit you hard when he passed away?
No. Because I wasn't that close to him.
Thoughts about the fallout on Chris Benoit? What are your thoughts on the whole tragedy?
It was terrible. You know, it was... I mean, it was just a tragic deal and shouldn't have happened. And, you know, people blame it on a lot of stuff, but nobody knows what was going on between Nancy and Chris. You know, you can't blame it on steroids. You can't blame it on drugs. You can't blame it on anything because nobody knows what was going on in that household.
Right.
I talked to Chris that day at 11:30. Left the doctor's office and he called me because I was supposed to go see him that week because I was off. And I was going to, because sometimes like when I'm off, I'll drive up to Atlanta and we'll have lunch together or whatever.
So you're really close to Chris?
Yeah.
Okay.
And just for something to do, I'd go up there and he'd want to get out of the house. And I didn't go. And he called me and he asked me, he said, why the fuck didn't you come over? I'm like, well, I knew you just got home, you know, and I figured you want to spend some time with Nancy, blah, blah, blah. No, you know, I was waiting for you to call me. You know, we were going to go get something to eat and blah, 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 all that. And it's like, okay, well, you know, next time I'll come over, Chris. And, you know, and he's like, all right. And I said, he said, what have you been doing? You know, just small talk. Right. And then I said, how you and Nancy getting along? Because I knew they weren't getting along that well. He said, she's acting like Hitler. I'm like, oh, okay. And I just kind of laughed it off a little bit because the way he said it, you know, was kind of comical in a sense.
Right. You
know, nothing comical about what happened. Don't get me wrong. You know, no disrespect to Nancy or anything, but it was, he sounded fine on the phone, you know, and I guess he went home and killed Nancy, you know. I think I was the last person he talked to before he killed her.
Wow.
You know, so I think I was. But we were close. It was, you know, it bothered me a little bit because I felt like, you know, because you never know if like if I'd have went up there that Wednesday and ate with him, it might have changed everything on Friday. Or I'm sorry, on Wednesday when he got home, or whatever day it was he got home. But I felt like it might have changed everything, you know, because you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah, definitely, 100%.
You know, it could have changed the events that took place, and
right.
Maybe they wouldn't have gotten a fight that day, or, you know, if I'd have went there and hung out with them, and, you know, I don't know, you know, and it bothered me for a little while that, you know, well, shit, I should have went and saw him, because then maybe it wouldn't have happened.
Right.
You know, but, you know, and then I just had to realize, you know, shit happens.
Some people say his behavior was kind of odd leading up to the whole tragedy, as far as him being paranoid and all. Did you ever see that in Chris?
No, because we rode together for a little while before all that happened.
Right.
And he's just normal Chris, quiet, laid back, just polite to everybody.
Do you think it's too easy for, actually, let me backtrack. Do you think the government at all would get involved after that happened with the whole concussions and drugs? Did you think that was going to happen? Or?
Oh, yeah, I knew it would.
Do you think they have a right to get involved?
They don't get involved when drunk drivers kill people. So, what's the difference? More drunk drivers kill people than somebody who takes steroids.
Right.
You know?
What is your take on the whole steroids and pain pills in the business?
Well, the thing is, I look at it like, our bodies go through a lot. And everybody takes something. Because there's no way humanly possible you can go night after night after night with the injuries you have and not take anything. You have to.
Right.
You know, and as far as the steroids, I was taking Deca and that helped my joints. And as soon as they made us start getting off all that stuff, that's when my joints started hurting even worse. But you got to do what they want you to do, and and that's just the way it is. I don't think the government should have got involved with it.
Okay. What is the story behind your infection that you got in your arm in 2006? What happened with that?
I worked with Orlando Jordan. Where were we? In Rochester, New York, and he had staff. And I worked with him that night. Well, the next morning, I got it up underneath my armpit. And I couldn't hardly put my arm down or carry my bags home, and I had to fly home that day.
I guess for the viewers out there that don't know what staph is, can you explain what it is real quick, just to educate them?
It's just an infection where you get like these big boils. I mean, they're like, you can't pop them or nothing. It's just, they're just huge boils, and it's just like, and just like, there's just like, it's hard to explain.
You get it from a dirty ring, I guess, bacteria, basically, or?
I guess. I mean, you live with, your body has the staph. You carry it
right
on you no matter what, but, it's just an extreme type of infection,
wow.
That you would get, and I mean, it'll kill you. And so I got it. I went home up underneath here, and I took a knife, cut it, started pulling shit out, and it kind of started getting better. Well, then I got all these scars on my arms back here.
Right.
Then I got one there, and then I got one under there, and started popping up. And so then I was at home that week, and we had TV in Minneapolis, Minnesota. And it was the day Eddie died. And my forearm was like, I'm not exaggerating, it was like that big around. Dr. Rios told Johnny I needed to go home. Need to go to the hospital now. Well, from what I was told, that they wouldn't let me go to the hospital. Said, Bob's got to go overseas. We need him overseas. So, and I was sick. I already felt like I had the flu and everything. So, flew overseas that night after TV. Got there, and our trainer came to the room. Dr. Rios came to the room. And they made an incision in my forearm right here, because that's where it was sticking up about that high. Of course my arm was swollen. Well, they cut it with a knife, and then they started pulling all this junk out, squeezing it, just trying to relieve the pressure.
Right.
And it helped. And gave me antibiotics and all that. And then every night they taped up my arm from here all the way up to here, and I worked. And I was in a fucking battle royal of all things. They really needed me overseas for a battle royal. So then they drained it every single night. I mean, they just got so much stuff out of it every night. And I was getting sicker and sicker every day. And then, we did TV in Birmingham. And I told Johnny, I said, Johnny, I got to go home. I'm sick. So they flew me home and went to the doctor, and they sent me straight to the hospital. I was in the hospital for 4 weeks.
You lost a lot of weight at this period of time, didn't you?
Yeah. I got down to about 180, somewhere around there. And then, so then what they had to do is they had to put a PICC line in my bicep right here, and it goes all the way in across here to your heart,
Right.
And it releases vancomycin, which was the strongest antibiotic there is. Well, I still wasn't getting better. So then they had to do a surgery because the infection got in my bone. So they had to clean it out of my bone. So then I was in the hospital another 2 weeks. And they said, if that doesn't clear it up, we're going to have to amputate your arm. So
what was going through your mind at this point in time?
I was sitting there thinking, they should have sent me home. I was pissed. I was fixing to get in touch with my attorney is what I was fixing to do.
Right.
And because the doctor told me, said, if you would have went straight from the arena to the hospital that night, you'd have been there 4 days, you'd have been over it. And I wasn't, And then, so after I was in the hospital for 4 weeks, they sent me home for another 3 or 4 weeks on an IV. So I laid in bed with an IV in me, pumping me full of this shit. And they had a nurse come to my house twice a day. And then it finally went away.
Wow.
So,
Did any of the boys or the office stay on top of you and make sure you're okay? Or
Stephanie McMahon called me, checked on me. Chris Benoit called me probably 3 times a week. Booker T called me, checked on me. And that was about it.
Was it an eye-opener to see who your friends were in the business, or was it just... Because I remember reading that you could have passed away from that.
Yeah. They thought I was going to die. Because, that's how sick I was.
Right.
I was laying in the hospital bed. I wasn't moving. I wasn't responding to nothing. And, so, and then, but, I don't know.
You talked a little bit about, I don't want to change subjects, I guess. Eddie Guerrero passing away.
Mm.
How close were you with Eddie?
We were pretty close.
What are your memories of that night when you found out the news?
Just sad. Just couldn't believe it. Could not believe it. I was just like in shock.
Good guy?
Oh my God, yeah. Yeah, real polite. Real good guy.
Do you think his passing took a toll on Chris Benoit too?
Yeah.
Because they were close and Dean.
Yeah.
Do you think it's too easy for guys to get into the business this day and age?
I think so.
All right.
You don't even have to have any talent to get in the business.
Just a big look.
Yeah.
All right. Do you think a lot of the young guys coming up in the WWE are ready for that spot?
No. Nope. Because, see, nowadays, the way it is now, there's no territories. Okay? All you got is a training camp. You send a tape to the office or pictures. They look at, okay, this guy looks like a wrestler. Let's send him down to Tampa.
Right.
Okay? They send him down there. They pay him X amount of dollars a week to be there, and it's a waste of money. But, back in the day, there was territories, and the best of those territories, the best guys got into WWE. And that's how you got there. That's why guys were so good. But
experience of going to be on the road and
exactly
working with different guys every night and
working in front of small crowds and traveling the roads and just driving everywhere and But if you were like their champion in that territory, you dropped the strap and you went to WWE.
Right.
The best went there. And then those smaller territories would build up another guy, get him good, and then he would go somewhere else. But in the smaller territories, you can go around, stay in different territories for a few months, and
right. Stay fresh and
fresh, get your name out there, and then go WWE and
make your money.
Yeah.
What are your memories of working with CM Punk, and did you like working with him?
I like him, but it was one of those deals where our styles just didn't mesh.
Right.
It's like with Matt Hardy. For some reason, with Matt, I cannot work with Matt. We just couldn't have a good match for some reason. It wasn't because I didn't like him. I liked him. He's a good guy, but it's just one of those things where, our matches just didn't seem, we weren't on the same page for some reason.
Right.
I don't know.
Okay. What happened at the house show the night you attacked Rene Dupree? What was that about?
Oh, God. That was about, we were in Spokane, Washington, and my mom called me, and a hurricane was fixing to come into Mobile. And I told her, I said, look, because I was at the airport, I was at home and I was watching the hurricane. And I called Lynn Brent and said, Lynn, if this hurricane's coming into Mobile, I said, I'm not coming.
Right.
She said, okay. So I called Lynn back and I said, it turned, it's not coming into Mobile, and headed out. So got into Spokane and got on the phone, talked to my mom. She said, it's coming into Mobile, it turned. So got up, called Johnny that morning, told him, I said, I'm going home. I said, the hurricane's coming to Mobile. He's like, no, you can't go. I'm like, why? He goes, well, I got to call Vince. I said, well, call him. Tell him I'm going home. He goes, well, he's still asleep. I said, well, I'm going home. Well, you can't. I said, Johnny, I'm going home. And so I hung up and called Rene because Rene wanted to ride with me. Well, Rene asked me, he said, do you mind leaving the rental car with me? Because the car was in my name. I said, sure, no problem. I said, just take care of it, return it full of gas and all that, blah, blah, blah. So I left, and, as time went on, 3 months later, me and Bradshaw we all had a layover in Houston at the Houston airport. So me and Bradshaw were sitting there eating, and then the fuck do you
He's
want?
lying like a motherfucker.
What do you want?
Hey, this is the same way we did it, except we had hamburgers and fucked up.
What? I was just telling about the story about me and Rene.
Oh, yeah. Good one.
Yeah.
Good one. Make sure you tell him the story about you fucking busting my eye open, me being your best friend, you stupid motherfucker.
Oh, yeah, I've already talked about you. But that's a good, remind me to tell you about that.
Okay,
too.
what's the story? Well, let's finish to Rene, and then we'll ask about Billy.
But anyway, Rene asked me if I could leave him the rental car. And I said, sure, just, fill it full of gas and return it. He's like, oh, no problem. So I go home. Like I said, I was at the airport, after a couple months went by, I was at the airport, and my mom calls me and said, hey, you've got a certified letter from the state of Washington saying your license is suspended and there's going to be a warrant for your arrest if you don't pay this ticket. I'm like, what? What ticket? And come to find out, I thought about it, and Rene had my car, and he got a parking ticket. It was only $35. So then Rene come walking by. Of course, Bradshaw screams out his name, and I told him to come here. And I asked him about it, and he denied it. And I told him he was a fucking liar. And so he went on and everything, and I thought about it, and about 2 months went by. And, well, let me back up. I had to fly to Washington to take care of it. And, God damn it. Shut that thing off. The button on the bottom left, right. Somewhere. And so, where was I?
Bradshaw called him out, and then it was 2 months later.
A couple months later, we had some shows at the Garden and everything. Well, those were good payoffs, so I missed those shows because I had to fly to Washington, and my court date was on a Friday. Well, when you're in traffic court, you sit there all day until they call your name. Well, it was 4:30, and they still ain't called my name, and they said, we didn't call your name, you got to come back Monday. I'm like, oh, no, you're fucking kidding me. So I had to spend the weekend there, and I tried to explain to the lady, and she didn't want to hear it. I said, well, I wrestle with WWE. And, I've got shows I got to be at. It's not my problem. You should have paid your ticket. And I was like...
All right, good.
And the lady told me, she goes, that's not my problem. And I said, I've got shows to go to, and I want to hear it. I don't like wrestling anyway. So I had to spend the whole weekend in Spokane.
Right.
And then Monday morning I got in there, at 9 o'clock I was out of there. By 10 o'clock, paid it and flew home, and missed TV and everything. And so the guys were kind of fucking with Rene about it, that I had to go to Spokane. And so about a month went by, and Rene never said to me, I'll pay for it, blah, 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 none of that. And so I started thinking about it. And we were in Syracuse, New York, and started thinking about it. And matter I got, and I was working with him that night. Well, he tried to apologize to me before we went and worked. So I said, get the fuck away from me. And so we went out there, had our match. I was a little bit rough with him, a little too rough. And then he come running in the back. Well, I chased him in the back. And I beat the shit out of him in the back. And that's that, And
Did you get heat from the office?
At first I didn't, but then that goes back with Hunter, Triple H.
Big surprise there.
Imagine that. And because Johnny called me that night at 11 o'clock at night and was laughing about, you don't have no heat over it, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, okay, Well, something happened between Sunday night and Tuesday TV. Johnny came to me and said, Vince is fucking pissed. He wants to see you. Well, come to find out, Hunter's the one that got in Vince's ear and said it was bullshit what I did. So Johnny said, Vince wants to see you. He said, I'll come get you when he's ready. So we went into Vince's office and sat down, and it started going off on me. I said, whoa, hold it right there. I said, don't sit there and fucking yell at me when you don't know the whole story, Vince. I said, I'll get up and walk out of this fucking room right now. He's like, oh, well, tell me what happened. So I told him, and he's like, well, I'd have done the same thing. And then, he said, well, I got to fine you $10,000. I said, I don't give a shit. I said, I'd do it again if I have to. I said, I stand for what I believe in, and ain't nobody can tell me no different. If I think it's right, then I'm going to stand for what I believe in. And that's just the way it is. So that's what happened with that deal.
Do you think you were well liked by the boys?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Everybody liked me. They respected me.
I don't know the name because one of the guys wrote these questions for me. I guess a former WWE wrestler said about you in an interview. This is what he said. I didn't say this. Bob is a stooge, and the reason he got a job is because he goes and tells on the boys. What are your thoughts?
Who do I tell?
It's just
bullshit.
Okay.
That is fucking bullshit.
Yeah, that's bullshit.
From the peanut crowd.
Yeah,
Even I know that, and I've known it for fucking 20 years.
Yeah, whoever said I'm a stooge, come and say it to me.
Okay. Memories of teaming up with Cody Rhodes.
That was fun. I had to, I had to teach him how to teach him. I led him around and stuff like that, and taught him. That was my job.
Good listener? Was he a good listener? Or?
No, he listened good.
All right.
Yeah.
You see potential in him?
Yeah. Yeah.
Do you think, he'll make a name for himself just because of who his dad is, or do you think he's got the talent to go along with it?
It's hard to say right now.
Right.
You just never know. You just don't know.
Do you want to tell your story about Billy?
Yeah, boy, I'd love to tell my story.
Do you want to sit in on this part so you could interject? Or?
No. No, I'll stay behind the camera.
We were in Kuwait, and they were having like a tournament. What the fuck is that? Oh my God! What the fuck are you doing?
Good. How are you? What's going on?
Good. Nothing.
I'm just interrupting.
Oh, good, thanks.
With it, Bob Holly said, "I'm going."
Are you gonna be
right, bro?
What's that?
You doing all right?
Yeah.
Good to see you.
Good to see you.
All right, cool.
You're not as fat as you used to be.
Fuck off! I'll fucking take you down right here, right now,
No.
on video.
No, we still have to have a rubber match. Hey, at least your partner's fatter than you are.
He's huge right now.
I know he is.
Life is good. I'll see you guys later.
All right, see you later.
Try not to put yourself over too much.
I'm not at all. I'm putting you over.
We were in Kuwait. I'm your best friend.
We were in Kuwait, and I have a tendency to beat up my best friends. And Henry Godwin dared me to punch Billy. And so, and of course, he didn't think I would do it, and he kept saying, "You ain't gonna do it, you ain't gonna do it." And all the boys, found out about this, and was Shane there? Shane wasn't there. So then, so we get out there, and everybody's sitting there looking through the curtain. Everybody's watching. Everybody. So we get out there, and I tell Billy, I said, "Push me." He's like, "What?" I said, "Push me." So he pushes me, and as soon as he pushed me, I punched him. I punched him right over the eye. And he grabs his eye, and he sits down in the corner, and he's sitting there with his hand over his eye, and I'm laughing. So then he pulls his hand down, and his hand just full of blood, and there's blood running down his face. And of course, I busted out laughing even harder. So he rolls out of the ring and walks all the way back to the locker room and tells Jerry Briscoe, he says, "I'm not going back out there." He ended up coming back out there, and then the match was the shits from then on because, couldn't concentrate on it because I was laughing the whole time. But he has knocked me out before. He denies it, but he has knocked me out before.
Right. Why were you let go from the WWE? What happened? Let's talk about all that.
I guess they were making cutbacks and just decided to let me go because I was sitting at home getting paid.
Right. I want to bring up a name, and you could talk about Ken Kennedy.
I want to kill him.
Right.
What exactly? For you to say that in the question before that.
Oh. The whole deal is okay. Me and Ken are really good friends. We rode together. Whenever I had, I was having problems with my ex-wife, my wife at the time, I'd call him, talk to him about it. I was upset and stuff like that, and and he would help me out, calm me down, and stuff, and tell me, look, it'll get better, blah blah blah. Just being a friend, and of course in the locker room, everybody helps everybody out. If they have injuries and stuff like that. Well, he you forget?
My wallet.
You didn't even bring it.
I think I threw it in the room and then came down here.
You didn't bring it in here.
Oh, okay. All right.
So, lost my train of thought.
You were saying how you were having, I guess, some problems, and he was giving you advice.
Yeah, he was helping me out and stuff like that, giving me advice, and then, like, the boys got prescriptions for, stuff, and so everybody would help everybody out if you were out and you needed some.
Right.
Which you're not supposed to do that. The office found out, you get in big trouble. So, anyway, I asked Ken. Ken said, sure, and, he said, just, help yourself, go, told me where stuff was, and, and I went and got it, and, he was fine with it. He told me, he's like, no problem, don't worry about it, blah, blah, blah. And there's 12 people in the locker room, and, I wouldn't steal nothing in front of 12 people. If I was going to steal something, I'd damn sure make sure nobody was in the locker room, because everybody knew that's where Ken's stuff was, and I'm not just going to go digging in Ken's shit with a bunch of people in the locker room. Ken didn't know about it. So anyway, I'd call him on the phone. We'd still talk, and, we're still friends. Well, in the meantime, he's going behind my back, burying me to everybody, saying I went into his bag, And so then all of a sudden, people started coming to me and saying, hey, and in the meantime, I was giving Ken stuff, helping him out.
Right.
In turn, he's still burying me, but to my face, he's being my buddy to my face. So anyway, Johnny found out about it, and Johnny called me and asked me, and I told him the deal. And he said, okay, well, blah, 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 you can't be doing that and this and that, and, So, I had surgery on my elbow, so I was out. And, so I had, because after I did that, let me back up, because after I got some stuff from Ken, a couple months went by, and of course I'm giving him stuff and blah, blah, blah. Well, a couple months went by, and then Johnny found out about it. Well, he asked me about it. And, you're not supposed to do that. And, if they found out somebody's giving people stuff, you're going to get fired because you're not supposed to do it. Well, I didn't get fired, number one. So I ended up having surgery on my elbows in June, because this happened back in April. So, yeah, April, May, June. I had surgery in June, and then I'd been off, rehabbing my elbows until it was January. I think it was like January 22nd, Johnny called me, and then that's when they released me. And I think it has a lot to do with Ken, because Johnny knows that I was going to come back and beat the fucking shit out of Ken. And I think that's what it's got a lot to do with, which I am. If I ever see Ken, I'm going to beat the fuck out of him, and I will. I don't give a shit if I go to jail. I'll get out,
right,
and I'm just going to do it again. I'm going to be a pain in his fucking ass. This wrestling world's a small world, and one day, Ken's going to see me, and he better fucking go the other way, because he ain't nothing but a coward. He is a true coward. He tries to come off as a badass to everybody, but when it comes down to fighting, he can't fight. He's a coward. And I'm going to whip his fucking ass. That's just the bottom line. He better learn how to fight. That's all I got to say.
Has he ever tried to contact you at all since, or no?
Nope. No. And see, what the kicker of the whole thing is, after all this, the whole time he was going behind my back burying me, he was getting stuff from me, and I was helping him out. So, and it's like, and I talked to John Cena about it, I talked to Sean about it, I talked to a lot of guys about it, and it didn't make sense, because if somebody goes into my bag and I don't want them to go in my bag, I don't give a fuck if they can whip my ass or not. I'm going to fight him. And if he had a problem with it, why didn't he tell me right then and there he had a problem with it? Because he's a coward. That's why. Ken Anderson, you're a fucking coward.
Thoughts on Paul Heyman?
I like Paul.
Got along with him?
Well, I got along with him really well.
What about John Cena? Thoughts on John?
I like John.
Good guy?
Good guy. Real nice guy.
Let's talk about, I guess, as far as when you left WWE, were you surprised that they let you go? Or
No, I wasn't surprised because...
Is the door open for your return? Or?
Oh, I'm sure it will be one day. But the thing is, they were doing a lot of cutbacks at the time. And I knew eventually, because I'm sitting at home getting paid, that, you know, that's when they cut all those people in the office. They let go a lot of talent. You know, they were making cut because they had to try to save $20 million this year.
Right.
You know, so of course my head was on the chopping block for that. And I was one of the very last ones that they released. You know, so.
Did you ever have any talks with TNA at all about going into that company? Or?
Yeah. Uh-huh.
Would you like to work for Dixie?
Yeah. Yeah.
Is it something I guess we'll have to wait and see what happens?
Yeah, wait and see what happens. Yeah. But I mean, I you know, if WWE wants me to come back, I'll come back.
Right.
You know, I don't have a problem with that.
Do you prefer working with vets or the younger guys on indie shows? Who do you like working with the most?
The vets.
Just easier to work with?
Yeah. You don't have to worry about it. They know what to do.
In your opinion, what makes someone a good worker?
Somebody that knows where they are in the ring at all times. Somebody that knows where to put things. Somebody that knows how to put a match together and not just go out there and do something just to do it. You know, they do it. There's a reason behind, they have a reason behind everything that they do. And it looks good. It looks believable that they do. To me, that's a good worker.
Is there anybody that you worked with in the ring that you thought was really overrated?
That's hard to say.
What about underrated?
There's a lot of them underrated.
All right.
You know, there is. There's a lot of guys that are underrated.
Who was, I guess, one of your favorite guys to work with overall?
Billy Gunn, of course. Me and him have always had good matches. Al Snow. I would have to say Rob Van Dam was my favorite.
Okay. Least favorite, I guess, would be like a guy like Matt Hardy or Punk. You said it was just hard to work with.
Yeah, and it's not because, don't get me wrong. It's not because I didn't like those guys. I liked them. But for some reason, our styles just didn't match up.
As a worker, who did you enjoy watching?
Shoot. Shawn. I really enjoyed watching Shawn. Shawn, it gets no better than Shawn Michaels. I don't care who you are, what other people's opinions are, who the best out there is. Everybody has a different opinion on who's the best. But from somebody on the inside that knows Shawn Michaels, hands down, is the best. Nobody can touch him. Nobody.
Why is that? Just because he's total package, or
he has got every aspect of the business to where he gets every aspect of the business. He understands how to put the match together. Everything he does is believable. You believe him when he's getting his ass kicked. You know, he is so believable, you know, in the entertainment world, what he does, you get caught up in that, you know, this shit's real. That's how believable to me Shawn is. You're watching him and you're like, this shit's real.
Right.
You know.
What are your thoughts on the recent passing of Test?
tragic. It's just a shame. You know.
I guess out of all the deaths, did any really? Well, I think I might have asked you. I guess you said Benoit stuck out the most.
Yeah.
Okay.
Benoit and Eddie, that bothered me the most.
How did your wrestling school come about?
How did what?
Your wrestling school come about? No wrestling school?
I guess you heard that on the internet too.
I guess so. Somebody said that you had a school, so.
The internet's fucking bullshit.
Wow. Well, I guess that raises my next question: how many students you have?
See, that's another thing. The internet, people believe what's written on the internet, and it's
Definitely.
I mean, it's like probably 80% of it is fabricated.
Right. Obviously.
It is.
Is it something that you might want to do down the line? Is open up a wrestling school? Because, you'd be perfect for it.
I thought about it, but right now I'm just working on my race car right now. That's all I give a shit about.
Is that what you're looking to get back into, racing, or just
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that's what I'm doing right now.
Sponsoring or actually behind the wheel driving again?
Behind the wheel driving.
Okay.
Yeah. If I put the money in the car, I'm going to tear it up.
How much is something like that as far as investment?
Yeah, it just depends. You can spend anywhere from, oh my God, $50,000 just for a car.
Wow.
That's just for the car, And if you tear it up, and then it costs, and then of course you got to buy tires every week when you run. That's another $400. Fuel, that's another couple $100 there for fuel. The expense to get to the track. If you tear anything up, it's very expensive.
Are you liking the indie scene once again? Have you done any indie shows yet? Or?
I've done indie shows. I just pick and choose what I want because I'm just really not, I don't know. I'm just kind of burnt out from traveling.
Right.
So I just do them. If I feel like doing them, I do them. If I don't, then I just don't do it.
What has surprised you the most about the indie scene? Because I'm sure you go to these shows and you see a lot of kids just going out there doing high spots and there's no psychology.
Yeah, they just nothing really surprised me about it, to be honest with you, because it's like you said, they just do high spots and it means absolutely nothing.
All right. Any, I guess, memorable road stories that really stick out? One of your favorite road stories?
God, there's just so many. I don't know. There's just so many.
All right.
I'd have to sit and think about that one.
Have you ever wanted to write a book?
Yeah. I can write a good book.
Definitely.
I got some good stuff I can write about.
How many years were you with WWE for total? 13?
15.
15?
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. So you've probably seen a lot. Favorite towns?
Home. Yep. Home.
Is there anyone that you never got a chance to work with that you wanted to work with?
Yeah. Sean. Never got to work one-on-one with him. Royal Rumble I have, and Undertaker. Those are two people that I've always wanted to work with that I never got to.
Wow.
Yeah.
What is the biggest misconception about Bob Holly?
Biggest misconception? They probably think I'm mean. Just because of my character on TV. But just because you see my character on TV, that doesn't mean who I am backstage or at home. And I tell people all this all the time. If you were to hang out with me for a day, I would guarantee you would think I was the greatest person in the world. Because I do fun stuff,
Right.
I'm not a negative person, I enjoy doing stuff. I like riding dirt bikes, four-wheelers. I'm an outdoors type person, I do, I just, if people got to know me, they would like me.
Right.
If the fans, and I guarantee the fans that don't like me, that think I suck and all that, well, first of all, I must not suck because I was in WWE for 15 years, and they're sitting out there buying a ticket, so who sucks? Not me.
Is there anything you want to say to your fans out there that you might not have ever had a chance to say until this video?
Just that I'd like to thank them for their support, and I've always went out there and gave you 100%, and, you know, and hope that I was able to entertain you. And, I appreciate, like I said, I appreciate your support. And for them fans that don't like me, that's your decision. You know, I can't do anything to change it. You know, you can't like everybody, and I don't expect you to like me, but I'm not going to lose no sleep over it. But for the fans that like me, thank you very much from the bottom of my heart.
Thanks for being here today. It was a great interview.
I appreciate it, guys.
Thanks again.
Thank you.
Watch thousands of exclusive shoot interviews right now on TitleMatchNetwork.com.